she gets that, she says, then I'll worry about getting married and having kids.
Yeah, she's building her career. She's goal-oriented, very good.
Well, she wished she was going to be a surgeon. She got in, she goes, I don't like people. She said, she said, people are so ungrateful. She said, but animals,
They don't know. They never complain.
they don't say anything. They're just so happy or they're so sad.
Yeah,
And you don't have to hear them.
she's right.
I said, what's the money difference? And she said, it's cash. No insurance.
That's right. That's true.
A lot better. Dude, you're acting like
Yeah,
my
and
mother.
she built her practice so she could bring in a few others, and she'll have time for her family and her practice, and she'll be good.
I said, why Riverview? Riverview's growing in Hillsborough County, and there is one vet, and Dr. Long's retiring.
Yeah.
There's going to be another person come in, and I'm going to go up to Big Bend.
It's time.
Go to work.
Good morning. This is we'll call to order. This is the Citrus County Planning and Development Commission public hearing, August 6, 2026. The time is now 9 a.m. We'll go to the invocation. If you'd like to join us at this time, I invite you to stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Lord, please give us the grace to be understanding, patient, and tolerant. With these attributes, we can conduct our work in a manner which will be pleasing to Thee, our county, and its residents. In the Lord's name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. So now I would ask that for the courtesy of the applicant's board and those around you at this time to please place your cellular devices on silent. Let me direct to the recording secretary for roll call, please.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. The following Planning and Development Commission members are present. Jeanette Collins, first vice chair. Michael Facemeyer, second vice chair. Richard Barmez, Stuart Bozeman, Kurt Stone, alternate Janice Murphy, and School Board Representative Chuck Dixon.
Okay, if any person decides to appeal any decision made by the commission with respect to any matter considered at this hearing, he or she will need a record of the proceedings, and for such purpose, he or she may need to ensure that a verbatim record of the proceedings is made, which record includes testimony and evidence upon which the appeal is to be based. During the public input portions of the meeting, individuals are given 3 minutes, and representatives of an organization are given 5 minutes. When anyone wishing to speak comes to the podium, please complete a yellow form to hand to the recording secretary. Please print your name, address, and the number of the application for which you are speaking on the form. The yellow forms can be found at the podium, by the door. If representing an organization, a letter of authorization must accompany the speaker. Comments will be limited to the topic being heard. Please state your name, spell your last name, and give your address for the taped record. At this point, we will do an open to the public. So this is an opportunity to come forward and address the commission on any issue that you may wish. This is not for the applications that will be being heard today. You'll have an opportunity during those items to speak. Does anybody have anything they wish to address to the board? Second time, third calling. Okay, so I will close the public portion of the meeting. Approval of the minutes. We do have 2 sets of minutes to be approved. Those of June 4th, 2026, Planning and Development Commission review minutes, and those of July 16th, 2026, Planning and Development Commission review minutes. Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the minutes of June 4th, 2026, and July 16th, 2026, as submitted.
Second.
Second, we have a motion by Mr. Facemeyer, a second by Mr. Bozeman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Okay, motion carries to approve those minutes. Staff announcements.
Mr. Landon, did you have anything you wanted to address? Okay. You all have heard this before. I'm going to do it again because it just keeps happening. There's whoever's watching this on YouTube, if you have an application with the county or you've submitted your email address apparently for anything, we have a lot of scammers out there and they're sending out invoices saying pay the county and only pay by wire. A lot of red flags. Look at the email address. We don't use .usa. CitrusCountyPlanning.usa is not a real email address. We don't accept payment by wire, only through the county's portal. We're not going to send out 5-page invoices asking for thousands of dollars, and there's no phone number on there. Don't interact with that email. Pick up the phone and call us, or our legitimate emails are on our website. Check it out. Please don't pay those. They just won't stop. And they have my name on them, or they have Mr. Landon's name. Sometimes they have the Planning and Development Chairman. Please don't fall for that. Sorry about that. I just had to do that. In the absence of the county attorney, I'm going to proceed, go ahead with ex parte communication. If any of you have any ex parte communication on the applications before you, if you can let us know, and we'll start with Mr. Stone.
None.
None?
None.
Site visits.
Site visit.
Site visit.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we will now move on to the applications. The first item before us today is PUD 2026-00006 Citrus Hills Investment Properties for Clearview Estates Development of Regional Impact. Is the applicant present?
Yes.
Okay. We will start with an introduction by staff. Ms. Burton.
Eric, can yours reach to her? No? Okay. Go ahead, speak loud.
This is PUD 2026-0006. This application proposes to amend the Clearview Estates Development of Regional Impact. The DRI lies on State Road 44 in Inverness. This DRI would increase the allowable non-residential square footage on the existing non-residential parcel along State Road 44. This is looking east on State Road 44 with the vacant non-residential sites on the left side of this photo. This is looking west on State Road 44. This Home Depot is currently under construction, necessitating this application to allow development of the remaining vacant non-residential sites in the DRI. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the applicant can come forward and make your presentation.
Good morning, PDC members. My name is Eric Abel. I serve as Vice President of Citrus Hills Investment Properties, LLC, the applicant. This application, pretty straightforward. I'm sure you've all read the packet, so I'll try not to be redundant here. However, I do want to highlight for you a short history of the property, the request that's being made, and the reasons for the request. The Clearview DRI was created in 1978. At that time, Citrus County's population was under 44,000 residents. Fast forward 48 years to today, when the county's population has quadrupled to 175,000. In short, Citrus County has gone from rural to urban designation. Thankfully, the county has done a great job of protecting its natural areas, designating where growth should occur. This DRI is a vested project with 761 residential units and 80.86 acres of non-residential properties. These properties are designated as commercial, retail, or office. They are all part of the designated growth area, and as part of a DRI, it has always been intended to serve not just the residents of Clearview, but also the Inverness region and the residents as well, because of its location. Of the entire 80.86 acres within the DRI, the Home Depot project and its 2 outparcels have consumed or anticipated to consume 18.84 acres and about 200,000 square feet of commercial development rights. This leaves us with a balance of only 250,000 square feet based on those 1970 original DRI numbers of rights for the remaining 62 acres. By today's development standards and based on the need for commercial development in the region, this is insufficient. By this application, we're requesting to increase the square footage of commercial uses in this Clearview DRI by 358,600 square feet, bringing the DRI total to 808,600 square feet, a commercial density of 10,000 square feet per acre, which is the lowest end of low to moderate commercial density. We desire to develop the property in a way that provides reasonable and important commercial services to the region, yet avoids the higher commercial densities we find in the cities. That is, we sincerely believe that this request strikes the right balance of meeting commercial needs and keeping the county's design. By this application, we are seeking to do just that. We're requesting to increase the square footage, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Does staff have any questions of the applicant?
No, ma'am, not at this time.
Okay, does the board have questions for the applicant?
I do. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning.
Can you tell me how this is going to look? You know, is it all going to be on State Road 44 frontage? How deep are you going to go back into the residential part of it?
Well, I don't have that nice crystal ball, but what we foresee as a developer is similar to what Home Depot's done as far as off the front, away from 44, but always with the berm or perfect buffering, if you will, required buffering between the residential and the commercial development. But it would be, I guess it depends on what commercial developer comes in, what they want, whether they want a small mall or whether they're looking for big box stores.
Now, is the main entrance still going to be off of the main entrance to Clearview Estates? And is it going to be on both sides of the entrance?
It isn't.
My understanding where you're extending it past farther south of the entrance of Clearview Estates. Is that right?
No.
Or is it just coming to?
South is the state forest.
Yeah, the Run for the Roses.
East or west.
Yeah. Okay, east or west.
Oh, okay, so it's always been. We're not changing the boundary of the commercial area. It's always
Okay.
been what it is. So we're not looking to increase the area, just the densities within the area.
Perfect. That was my questions. Thank you.
Bozeman?
Good morning, Eric.
Good morning.
So you answered one question. It's a lot of the rationale for this increase in square footage is driven by population growth. Any other?
I suppose our experience has been and continues to be when you see development, and you've seen it at 491 and 486, the whole Target area up there has been developed. Mm-hmm. We don't like that type of growth, but it's allowable in certain areas with general commercial. In this DRI, we're trying to keep the property, we want to keep it within the DRI, but if we took it out of the DRI, we could exploit it in weird ways, but we're not after that. We literally just want to develop it. We're always conscientious. We've been here for 35 years. We expect to be here another 30 years plus for developing property. We want good harmony with our commercial projects and our residential projects.
Okay. Another one. I may be getting a little bit ahead, but so the property in question has got the
honeycomb and a couple of
honeycomb
stripes
area.
there, yeah.
And then on the other side of the DOT DRA, there's a small piece.
Yes, when State Road 44 was widened, FDOT came in and took that area, 3+ acres, and it is a regional drainage facility. So it doesn't just handle FDOTs; it's also built to accommodate the water from the entire non-res property.
Yeah, that was going to be another follow-up question. Is that going to be part of your overall stormwater plan? That DRA in it?
Yes, we have a right to go there.
Yeah.
For example, though, Home Depot, when they built, they did not want to go there. So they chose to have an on-site DRA. They didn't want to pipe it that far. But the reality is, the closer you get to it, the more likely it is to be used.
So do you anticipate everything to the east of the main entrance to Clearview Estates going to that, or the entire? Are you going to have to
That
cut the road?
seems reasonable because it's downhill, so easy to gravity feed it. You don't have to pump.
Right, everything west of there, you may have to do something additional on that portion of it.
Without guarantees, but that would be the expectation based on what cheaper methods of handling the drainage.
Yeah, no, that's fair, that's fair. And then, as to entrances off of 44, I believe there's one shown down toward the southern, or to the western end of the property before you get to the Home Depot, or is that gonna be between Home Depot and the other site, the new site?
That's that's the last DRI map from 2003. So that entrance road that you see there would cross through a portion of what is the Home Depot property. And at our last board meeting, talking about Clearview and development rights, and in fact, regarding Home Depot specifically, the entrance roads were allowed to be aligned based on what the county engineer approves. So it's not that we get go in there and pick anywhere we want. Between FDOT telling us you can access off State Road 44 or not will dictate a lot of it. But as of right now, it has the Home Depot entrance, which is a little bit east of the Home Depot property,
Right, okay.
toward the east of it. And then you have Run for the Roses, I think it's called. And those are the only two right now. Home Depot has its own entrance.
And FDOT, they mandate what can be done as far as entrances. The county is kind of a second chair on that one?
Correct, but to the extent it impacts county, the county engineer will have input
Okay, good.
and control.
As far as the on-site, of course, similar to what we've got up here at 486 and 491, we're talking about all cross-access on-site, so you're only two entrances. There's nothing going out the back way into Clearview, correct?
That is correct, and in fact, we took it away. It originally showed it in there, but when Home Depot was developed, we said, look, that doesn't even make sense anymore. So at our last approval with the Board of County Commissioners, they wanted internal, and we asked for internal access roads as opposed to, so you had, in essence, a frontage road. You don't have to get on and off 44 every time you want to move from a shop to a different shop.
Yeah, so cross access throughout the entire development. Good, good. That's good. And I think I had one more quick one, and then I'll quit hogging the mic. So there will be the ability to access the west portion of the new development to the east portion, crossing the entrance to Clearview, and that could be one of the major concerns that some folks have. How do y'all plan to?
So Run for the Roses is a county road.
Okay.
So to extent that from the east half of this property to the west half has to cross Run for Roses, it will be at a defined setback away from 44. We've had some preliminary talks with the county and just with staff. And in doing so, we talked about kind of how far back it has to go and where, you want to make sure traffic doesn't back up into 44. You want to have enough room they can get in, yet go across to have internal access.
And I don't recall, is there egress right there at that entrance now?
Well,
as far as
it
turn
wouldn't
lanes.
go anywhere, but it's been designed since 1978.
Okay. But
Yes.
acceleration, deceleration lanes.
State Road 44 would be FDOT would be telling us exactly, but you can count on it, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's important. And then, I may have a follow-up, but go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Did you want your follow-up, or?
No, I'll wait.
Okay.
Let's,
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
We'll now hear from staff.
I'm done, thank you.
Oh, what? No, I didn't. I just remembered it. Sorry, Eric.
Probably handle it.
Yeah, it's easy. Buffering. I know that'll be discussed.
Yes,
There's gonna need to be some additional buffering between the new section and the rest.
Land Development Code sets forth the buffering requirements there, and Home Depot has to meet it, had to meet it, and will continue to. We don't expect to lessen that in any way.
You're gonna
We want.
supplement what's already there as somewhat of a buffer.
There is a berm right now that was built a long time ago,
Yep.
and the berm doesn't have to be there. It can be different types of buffering, but the buffering standard will be met one way
You
or
think
the other.
Will the berm remain?
I hope the berm remains, but I don't know. You know, in the end, it's a matter of configuring everything on there with whether it's drainage or what it is they're looking at.
Yeah, there's a lot of mature oak trees back along through
But
there.
ultimately, it will meet LDC standards for that buffering.
Yeah, there's just a lot of mature oak trees back along that berm that would be nice if they could remain. Okay.
We agree.
All right, Joanna Katu, Deputy Director of Growth Management. I don't have a special PowerPoint for the planner because there's not a lot to show. This is a text amendment. So Clearview Estates is the development of regional impact. So what that is, quickly, is something that it was so large when it was formed back in the 70s and the 80s that the state said that they had to have special standards. So development of regional impact had to jump through a lot of hoops to get approved. Since that time, it's been removed from statutes. You can no longer make a new DRI, but so they're treated like plan unit developments or master plans. Those you're very comfortable with. You know those are master plans with specific conditions. The entire DRI is outlined here. You can see it kind of, there's part of Clearview that's outside of the DRI, but that's not part of the actual DRI itself. And one of the conditions is that they limited how many square footage amounts are allowed for non-residential. That's common for PUDs. In this case, their total is 550,000. It's broken up with 450,000 of commercial and 100,000 of office. They're asking to combine that use. Listening to the questions, so the application before you is simply increasing square footage. There's no change to where non-residential is allowed. It's already allowed, and you saw it. Can I point? Maybe not. Okay, well, we won't worry about it. 44 is on the right here. The up is to your left, even though up on this slide is weird. But you can see the honeycomb that he described. And the reason I like the aerial is a little clearer. You can see the green down there at the bottom of the slide. That is non-residential. That's staying non-residential. It's not expanding or morphing. Nothing's changing on that. There's no change to the access points. None whatsoever in this application. So the access points already there. Run for the Roses is there. You know Kensington is there. If they have any additional access points, it would be subject to this, which is very limited. It just has Run for the Roses and the one around Home Depot. So more would have to come before you and come before the board to get another access point. There are also no access points to the rear, to the rear area, and that's not part of this application. So this only is a text amendment to allow more square footage of commercial on the existing non-residential lots. So with the 550,000 that they're allowed right now, they're asking for 808,600, and you heard his explanation. He's done a square footage calculation based on the undeveloped acreage. Makes sense. Home Depot was about 137,000. That's a big chunk. You can see on our aerial it's picked up as brown. It's getting close to opening. So this application, if you chose to recommend approval and the board approves it, would simply allow them to have more square footage of commercial in an existing commercial area. They still have to meet all buffers. They cannot have additional access points. They have to do normal cross-access along 44 per the Land Development Code. You're not amending setbacks. You're not amending anything like that. All this would allow more square footage because they have a lot of undeveloped acreage and not a lot of square footage left based on today's commercial standards. So the conditions that are before you are very, very simple in the staff report. Basically, this would increase the commercial square footage to 808,600, and all development otherwise shall comply with the standards of the DRI and the Land Development Code. Any questions?
Does the applicant, have any questions for staff? Okay. Does the board have questions?
Mr. Bozeman's raising his hand, and I see Mr. Facemeyer. It's easier for me to see than you, Ms. Collins, sorry.
Mr. Stone, Mr. Facemeyer, I'll start on this end.
All right, he passes.
He passes.
Joanna, I seem to recall that a few years ago, we heard an application on some or all these properties. Is that, does my memory serve me correctly?
Yeah, so what you heard was access to Kensington for Home Depot. It's because the master plan did not have that on there, and this is the master plan, and there's no access point down there on the bottom right to Kensington. So we didn't get a new master plan pretty to give you here, but that was what was approved by the commissioners ultimately, was to have an access point on Kensington for Home Depot. That's what you heard.
See, no, there was something, it wasn't Home Depot, it was something previous to that. it's not really important, but it seemed that we.
Yeah. Okay, so I think what you're thinking of is there was one to allow interchangeability between residential and non-residential uses.
that's it.
So what that would allow is if there's any residential that they wanted to put up in the non-res section, they could do so. I don't think that's going to happen, but that was back in
Okay,
24.
so this essentially supersedes that.
It allows them to do more commercial square footage. That ability is still there. If they want to try to do some residential and do a conversion and do houses up there, they could. I don't think it's likely because commercial's been coming now, but it's possible that that's still on the books. Good memory. That's 24. It's a while ago.
Mr. Bozeman.
So if I'm traveling down Kensington and I want to enter the entire development section, will I be able to access the Home Depot off of Kensington
You know, I don't.
east?
Right, and I don't know because that's not part of this review. I didn't even look at traffic because we're not looking at traffic in this application. So what's existing there, what they're building, I think they put a median there so you can't go left before 44 because of the distance, but I can't be certain. We really aren't changing any access points here, so I wasn't looking at that.
But once you get onto the Home Depot property proper, you'll be able to drive all the way to the eastern end of this new development, which is
Cross-access, right.
all the way to the DRA, basically.
Well, cross-access standards haven't changed.
Okay.
So they have to keep going along 44 and you have to have cross-access. Now, get to the Run to the Roses and then the other side. Yeah, everybody along 44 has to have cross-access. That's in the Land Development Code.
Okay.
So regardless of what comes in, it has to do that.
So the Home Depot cross-access will be connected to the rest of it.
They have to, yes. And they have provided, they've actually created a few out parcels in front that we don't know what will be there yet. But that's additional square footage, too, that they're going to want to use. That's another reason for this application.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ms. Murphy? Mr. Sheriff.
Mr. Shara,
Wow.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I know how you
Formas.
feel, Miss Burton. 6 years, they still don't know my name.
If only we could forget. But
Simple, just a simple question, explanation for our home audience and our audience here. Could you explain to everyone what exactly is a text amendment that we're voting on today and what everybody's looking at? Because I think there's a little perception of something else going on.
right.
I know what it means. I just want to make sure everybody else knows.
Right. So you're not being asked to change in any way this land use map. What's residential on the map in Clearview stays. What's non-residential on the map stays. The access points stay. The everything is exactly as is on there, and you're not being asked to change that. That would be a map amendment. As a text amendment, what it does say is that, yeah, you've got that commercial area, but you can only do 550,000 square feet of commercial in that whole area. Figure it out. And they're saying after Home Depot came in, we realized that's not working. That's an old standard, and we want more square footage to put in the existing non-residential. No changes to access points, no changes to traffic or buffers or setbacks or anything like that. The sole change is we want more square footage in existing commercial areas.
Thank you.
I have some questions. I have actually questions on the original DRI and the development order, which still stands.
Yes,
right? It's still
absolutely.
So with regards to Florida area ratio, there was nothing in the original development order that spoke to Florida area ratio, or we just default to the current land development code?
We do. The Florida ratio is actually in a comp plan, and we do default to that. Yes, because it's silent in the DRI, we look at it.
Okay.
It hasn't been an issue. There's been no high rises there or anything at this point. But
Right, and I know that what they're requesting falls within the
Correct.
provisions of the land development code. Was there anything in the DRI that spoke to, so let me first talk about traffic concurrency, because I know, we right now don't have anything in the comp plan regarding traffic concurrency. But I know a lot of the DRIs were based on traffic, their impacts and traffic. Was there anything in the DRI development order that limited your square footage and or density intensity to the existing studies, or does it again just default to current standards?
the original traffic study for back in the day, and we're talking 78, but then again, it looks like in 95. Well, they did a conversion table in 2016. So the 2016 conversion table still allows it, but I think that trying to explain how to say that. We don't require a traffic study today. However, if we get concurrency back, we would, of course. But Mr. Abel spoke about FDOT and access management, and that still is in play regardless. So, yeah, there's nothing in the DRI that would stop this kind of square footage and suddenly say, okay, we took into account then because the traffic study is so far out of date. I get what you're saying. The conversion table probably would need to be updated if they ever want to use it again because it was based on a 2016 traffic study. But as far as this application, no, it should not affect that other than I do think ACL, decel lanes, it's probably too close for a stoplight, but they're going to have to look at access management depending on how large they go in 44.
Okay, and you kind of went into my next question, if there was anything in there that spoke about any requirements for traffic light on the
Run for the Roses
entrance,
yeah.
As it relates to as they increase their intensity and.
Yeah, they'll have to meet that regardless. So any application, even if we didn't approve this, if they bump up against for a use something that's going to trigger a stoplight, it does, and we'll have to deal with it. I don't know if that it's pretty far actually from Kensington, so it might be able to qualify for that, and that's going to depend on what they come up with there.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if
but this doesn't supersede that. If the traffic light's required, it's required. Hope that answers that.
Okay, that was my main. Always looking at safety and.
No, I appreciate that. You're correct. Traffic is something people think about immediately. They have to address standards regardless of what the square footage is.
Okay, and I know they'll have to get with FDOT also.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, okay, that's my questions. Thank you so much,
Anyone else?
Mr. Bozeman.
Yes, sir.
One more. And yeah, that would be an FDOT decision on a traffic light.
Traffic light, yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
On the entrance road, Run for the Roses, I believe it's called, where that cross access will cross, 4-way stop would be the standard.
I'm not an engineer. I don't know. It's going to depend on the use as well. If it's an office, maybe not. I don't know. I'm sorry. You're wading out of my planning lane. That would be something we would look at upon development, and not on this application, which just would allow more commercial there.
Well, it just can't be Katie bar the door and take your chances and go across.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. In any
circle or something.
Right. Any permit would have to deal with that, and we'd look at that at the time of permitting based on the size and the use, and that would be something our engineers would look at case by case. Commercial is not comparable. There's so many different types, so it's hard to guess right now what might be required.
Okay, as far as in a development agreement, that certainly should be something considered. How to word that, I don't know if it's dependent upon the county engineer and or in conjunction with the developer or whatever, just to make a good decision on how to manage that.
Right. So what he's talking about, I heard people complaining they can't hear you. You talked about a development agreement and we need to make good decisions on traffic. This is not a development agreement, but at the time of permitting for any property in Citrus County, including within the DRI, the permit at that time, that's when we talk about it.
Okay.
And that's when traffic standards, access management. Do you need a stop sign? Do you need a stop bar? Do you need an access, a decel lane, whatever? All that comes up when you get permitting with our county engineers. They look at that in detail. But at this stage, it's too early.
As long as there's some guardrails.
Yeah, the guardrails are in place in our land development code. We don't have concurrency, but we have access management. So absolutely.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll now open the public portion of the meeting. This is, if there's anyone present who would like to speak on this application, please come forward to the podium. As a reminder, individuals have 3 minutes and organizations have 5 minutes. When speaking on this application, please address the board. And if you have any documentation that you want to be entered into the record, please provide a copy to the recording secretary. Is there anybody here to speak? You sure? Second call? Do we have somebody? Okay, come on up.
Information.
To the recording secretary.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am a resident of Belmont Hills. My name is Donna Zalistowski. I have been kind of designated by my fellow neighbors and friends to speak. One of the questions we have is with regard to the Belmont Hills Gate. We see that on the plat, and I don't know how old this plat is, but it includes an old pool area, and that is inside of our gate. And so we were wondering how commercial property is going to be built inside of our gate. So that's one question, and I don't know who I pose that question to, or if they have an answer.
After we get all the public input, we'll address questions. After we receive all the public input, we'll address
Okay.
any questions,
Okay.
yes, that we can.
So that was one thing. We wanted some clarification on the designated tracks that are not numbered on the plat. There are 3 referenced, but they're not referenced exactly on each one. So when you're talking about different numbers, we don't know which section you're talking about. Does that make sense?
When you say
So there's
different
3
numbers,
sections.
what numbers? Are you talking about square footage?
Correct. So there's 1067, 1035, and 1131.
The area you had up, there you go.
Okay, the parcel numbers. Okay,
Right. So, yeah, because we don't know which ones relate to which numbers relate to each section, it's hard to understand.
okay.
Another question is on the access areas that we were just talking about. We have a turn-in off of Highway 44 into Clearview Estates / Belmont Hills entry. So where would the access point go after you turn in? Because, I mean, if you put a light there, you're going to turn in, and then you're going to have to stop for the access point, and then you're going to have to go farther to the gate. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm being clear. If I'm not being clear, I'll try and, explain further.
That's fine.
No? No questions on that one? Okay. So that's another question. Let's see. Can you also explain non-residential versus commercial? So we understand that the 3, is my 3 minutes up?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Do I stop speaking now?
Yes, I don't know if somebody else wants to come up and finish up for you, that would be fine too. Okay, next person. Anybody else? Second?
He's
Come
filling-
on up, please.
He's filling out a form.
Okay.
We can fill that out after. They're filling out a yellow form.
Yeah, the next person that had their yellow form, just please come on up. They'll have an opportunity. Everybody will.
And just to clear that, we'll have the applicant address these questions when you're all finished.
When
Okay,
everybody's-
not a give and take, but we'll have them respond.
Okay, so my name is Jim Worley, also live in Belmont Hills. Once again, I'm sure you've heard that we were all promised that that area would always stay in the foliage that's there, the trees. There'd always be a buffer between us and Highway 44. So my question is, I guess on the square footage that the builder wants to develop a larger square footage plan so they can put more buildings in there. Is there a minimum square footage that the buildings would be? Or is there a maximum that one building could have square footage? And does the square footage contain just the building portion, or does it contain the lot also? So if you put a 10,000 square foot building on a 15,000 square foot lot, where's the decision there on what the square footage use is? And is there a height requirement or minimum or maximum that these buildings can be? So if we're losing the trees and we have a little bit of a buffer, are we going to be able to see the buildings? Can we build a 10,000 or 100,000 square foot building 10 feet or 10 stories tall? Is that 10,000 square feet? or 100,000 square feet, or does that take part of that maximum square footage out of the question? That's all I got right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next person, please.
Hello, I think, my name's Tom Seeley. I think what Donna's question was, is were these properties were zoned residential and commercial? Initially, were they just residential and now they're trying to change it over to commercial? I guess you wanted an explanation on that. And then, we weren't aware that that entrance going to Clearview Estates is a public road, so the county takes care of it. How far into that entrance does that public road go to? Just to the gates of Belmont? Is that all public road there? And the buffer, I guess we do like the pine trees that buffer along that bluff. It'd be nice if they could keep those pine trees in there, and that would cover up a lot. You can see Home Depot there, even though there's that bluff, but if they would have kept some of those pine trees, it might have hidden it a little better. But thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Final and third time? Anybody else? Okay, we'll close the public portion of the meeting. Mr. Abel, could you come up and answer? We had questions regarding the gate, the parcels, access, the entrance to the gate, separation, the questions on the buffer.
I made some notes while they were
square
speaking.
footage,
I'll try
okay.
to hit those to the extent I can here. One question was the old community facility site. If commercially developed, what would that look like? I don't know what it will look like. I do know that if it is commercially developed, it will have to have the buffering standards the county sets between the commercial property in that area. Asked how would access work to that site. I believe it was specific to that community, the old community facility site. Access would have to come from the commercial property if it's being commercially developed. It would not be accessed through Belmont's private gates. Someone asked any minimum or maximum square footage of buildings. No, except under the floor area ratios that matter, but there's no designation in the DRI or the LDC about minimum and maximum square footage of buildings. Another question, any height requirements or signage? The LDC does address those, and of course we would fully anticipate to meet all of those standards. And finally, I heard was of all of Clearview Estates, is it public roads? Well, maybe that's my answer to your question. All of Clearview Estates is designated public roads except Belmont. Belmont, where it has its gate, starts the private roads. So it is part of the Clearview DRI, Belmont is, but Clearview Estates subdivision, not Belmont, are all public roads. And I think I answered all the questions.
Yeah, there was one question about the parcels. I think there was just a need for clarification on
About the what?
the parcels themselves, the area that's under consideration for commercial. And it's always been commercial.
It's always been, yeah, since 1978, the same area has been designated non-residential, yeah.
I think you can point out on the map, it's the ones on the bottom there, all the way across from Kensington, all the way to the dark yellow there. That is all the commercial, except you have to jump the DRA, but that would be it.
Right,
So every one of those parcels listed there, yeah.
that's all that's fronting State Road 44. And the DRA, I think that's FDOT. Isn't that an FDOT DRA? Or
Yes.
It is an FDOT DRA.
Someone also said, were they zoned residential and now commercial? I didn't hear you answer that.
So they have always been, in answer to that, they have always been non-residential. We do have that right, as discussed years ago, someone recalled, that we could convert by taking away a lot of the commercial densities into residential properties. But as Joanna said, I don't think that's in our current plan, but the right does exist.
Did you have any other closing remarks for us?
We're good.
Okay.
I just wanted to address the questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think we'll now close the public portion of the hearing and bring the discussion back to the board.
Can we ask for clarification from him for a moment? Is that possible?
Well, he did, I think, he answered all the questions, so the public portion is now closed.
Yeah, he's offering to meet you after.
Yeah, we can show you maps afterwards, and yeah, and
He can.
explain. Yeah, he can. Mr. Stone?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay. Mr. Facemeyer? Mr. Barmas?
Mr. Abel, I think this is a perfect area, State Rule 44. I think back in the 80s when I came here, I've always expected to see commercial in that area. And I see it coming. I mean, it's finally 30, 40 years later, you know, we're finally getting the growth in the county that we thought we were going to get in the 90s that just went to sleep. I just hope that the buildings and so forth that you put in continue to maintain to your standards that you've been running in this county for a long time, 40 years, I want to say, maybe longer. I don't know, age you, but for a while. But I don't have any problems with keeping commercial, non-residential, and giving a little bit more square footage to give a little bit of elbow room and breathing room for the residents and as well as the commercial companies that come into there. So I would be in support of this application.
Okay, Ms. Murphy?
I would also support it.
Mr. Bozeman?
Yes, I would certainly support it, and to echo my colleagues, it's nice to see some quality development coming. I remember when that was a two-lane road and there was nothing, and it's kind of nice to have somewhere to go without going to Ocala or Gainesville. I do hope and I do trust, based on my observations of y'all's development process over the years, that some serious consideration will be given to some serious buffering between the new commercial site and the existing residential area. You know, the oaks, some pine trees possibly. Cross access across Run for the Roses. I'm sure you've got some folks with some nice ideas. I've encountered many traffic circles as one potential, because the concern that was raised by one of the speakers about the traffic backing up into State Road 44, depending on the amount of volume in that development, could be a concern. So I'm sure that would be considered. But other than that, I'm favorable for it and will definitely support it.
Mr. Dixon?
I don't have any comments.
Okay. No, I have no objections. They're not changing the land use. You're just increasing the square footage, and it meets all the concurrency standards and provisions of the comprehensive plan as it's already zoned for commercial, so I have no objection.
Madam Chair, for a
Motion.
purpose of a motion, the Planning and Development Commission finds application number PUD 2026-00006 consistent with the Citrus County Comprehensive Plan and the Citrus County Land Development Code, and that this board recommends approval of the application to the Board of County Commissioners based upon the evidence and the testimony presented and the staff report and the conclusions regarding this petition.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion for approval by Mr. Barnes, a second by Mr. Facemeyer. All those is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries to approve.
Madam Chair, this is scheduled for Board of County Commissioners on September 8th at 5:01 p.m. in Inverness.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on then to the next item, which is PUD 2026-00004, Attorney Lauren Rubenstein for One Okomosasa LLC. I hope I said your name right.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioners. Do you have,
Before we get started, we're going to have the introduction.
Hopefully.
This application proposes to amend an expired land development for non-residential uses. 19 and West Homosassa Trail, and also borders South Pittsburgh Avenue and West Aqueduct Street. The site has a GNC designation and was approved in 2020 for a PUD for non-residential uses, which has since expired. This is one of the existing buildings on site and the existing access point onto Homosassa Trail, which is proposed for revision. This abandoned car wash accesses West Aqueduct Street and will be removed. This closed pharmacy building is across West Aqueduct Street from the site. This is looking east on Homosassa Trail with the site on the right in this photo. This is looking west on Homosassa Trail towards US 19. This is the master plan proposed by the applicant. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The applicant may now proceed.
Yes, my apologies, Cheryl. Didn't mean to jump in front of you there. I do have, and I apologize, I think there was a clerical error, and the updated PUD concept plan and the PowerPoint were not originally in your packet. They were submitted to the county on time. I have printed versions. I believe you've all been given an updated version, but I have copies if everyone would like to have them in front of them.
We did receive the updates with the clarification after the original packet.
So we don't need the prints, but thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I apologize for that. I don't know how that happened, but
Things happen, right? So, as you all know, again, I'm Lauren Rubenstein. I'm with the law firm of Hill Ward Henderson, 101 East Kennedy Boulevard, Suite 3700 in Tampa, Florida, and I have been sworn. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, One Oak Homosassa LLC. With me today is Andrew Hupp with One Oak, as well as our engineer, Troy Carter from Suncoast Civil, and we'll be able to answer, I'm sure, more technical questions than I can. So just a quick general overview of the site. The future land use designation is GNC, General Commercial District. Everything surrounding this property is also GNC, as well as for land development code designation as well is the same. Neighboring properties, as they pointed out, to the north, you have Racetrack Gas Station. To the south is a vacant, looks like an old CVS pharmacy building. To the east is medical office, and west across US 19, you have a retail center with Publix and several out parcels. So you have general commercial uses completely surrounding the subject property. The site currently consists of multiple vacant commercial buildings. There was a previous PUD approval that was mentioned to allow various commercial uses and a car wash. That PUD has since expired, but there are a couple of provisions that were approved as part of that PUD that we are requesting it to remain exactly the same. And those are the impervious surface ratio of 75%. Under the code, GNC is only 70%, so we're asking for that 5% variance, as well as 10-foot wide type A buffers are required under the code along all right-of-ways. We are proposing to keep those along the north and west property lines and asking for a reduction to a 5-foot wide type A landscape buffer along the south and the east property lines. There are some pictures of the site here, similar to what you just saw. I have a couple more of view from the southeast corner looking northwest. This is the intersection of Pittsburgh and West Aqueduct. You can see that large specimen tree that is there, the oak. I don't think I can point with this, but hopefully that helps. Oops, I think I went backwards. My apologies. So that is one of the 3 specimen trees on site. Another one is actually in the right-of-way. I shouldn't say it's on site, but 2 of the 3 are being proposed for preservation, of course. That is one of them. Here is the other specimen tree that is in the right-of-way, but that will, of course, be preserved, and we will submit a, preservation plan to make sure it's protected during development. This is from the northeast corner looking southwest. And here is from southwest corner looking north. You can see that vacant commercial building and then the car wash off to the right. And here is the proposed concept plan. So we'll go through it in a little more detail. I know that it is conceptual in nature, right, which means there could be minor changes, but everything that is not specifically being asked to be varied would have to meet the code requirements. We've left it this way for, obviously, in the final design with the tenants to be able to have a little bit of flexibility, but when I say that, I don't mean any changes that would compromise what is required under your code. So looking at the site data table, and I think that's probably the easiest way to sort of go through this, you have 1.51 acres of total site area. And you have your building setbacks from Suncoast Boulevard, US 19 is 65 feet. In West Homosassa Boulevard, you have 25 feet. And then from the other two local roads are also 25 feet. Your floor area ratio is 1.0. We're proposing less than 0.1, so well under what's required. And max building height under there is 50 feet. The two proposed uses are a quick service restaurant with a drive-through and a drive-through coffee shop. So under your code, and when we get through in the conditions and in the staff report, you'll see they typically refer to just two quick service restaurants with drive-through. The reason for that is there is not a designation in the land development code for a drive-through coffee shop. But when we are talking about parking, the ITE justification traffic study and parking study that we submitted does have that designation. And so those numbers were run specifically for the coffee shop drive-through. So I just like to point that out. Under your code, it's considered a quick service restaurant, but there is a difference when we talk about parking. And in terms of that parking, there would have been under your code 74 or 75 spaces required. The traffic justification that we've submitted would require 55. And we are proposing 59 spaces so that we can meet all of the required landscaping, as far as interior landscaping islands, as well as just design and ISR. So on the site plan, as I mentioned earlier, we're requesting to keep a couple of the previously approved deviations of that impervious surface ratio, 75%, and the landscaping buffers. Originally, you may have seen in the staff report, we had asked for a 10-foot dumpster setback as well, but we have since removed that request. We were able to work with staff and our engineers to move some things around and make sure that we could meet the required setbacks. So we're no longer asking for that deviation. So the only new request with this PUD would be the traffic generation is going from 74 parking requirements, not traffic generation. Code Road requires 74. We're asking for the 55 and have submitted that parking study, and staff is in support of that. Again, we are proposing 59 spaces, so we are exceeding that. And the removal of the one specimen tree that is in literally basically the center of the site. And I have some more photos to go over that. So as I mentioned earlier, the ITE manual does have the coffee donut drive-through. So we have submitted that parking study, and based on those numbers, the total number of spaces required would be 55, and 59 spaces are proposed in accordance with this PUD. Here are the specimen trees on site. So you'll see the first two photos. I circled again that tree near the car wash so you could clearly see which one it is, as well as the one in the right-of-way that are proposed to be protected, and we'll have a preservation plan as required under your code. And then the last tree that you can see is right against that commercial building in the middle of the site. And, you know, we've had numerous meetings, our engineers with staff, and unfortunately there's just no way with the proposed development to protect that one. But of course, lots new landscaping will be added to this site and really enhance this site. You can see right now there are really no existing buffers, landscape buffers out there. These buildings were developed back in the late 70s and 80s. So certainly there will be a significant improvement to that. Access management, there are 3 proposed access points. And on the PUD that you all have in front of you, you'll see there are numerous access points that are being removed. So when this was developed, there were a lot of access points right onto US 19. There are several on Aqueduct. And so we are consolidating those and getting rid of all of the access points off of US 19, which will be a huge safety improvement. There is a driveway on South Pittsburgh that will remain, and it has been approved by the county engineer. It meets the separation requirements. Same with the driveway on West Aqueduct Street. Worked with the county engineer to make sure that they were approving of that location in order to maximize the distance from US 19 on that. This leaves the driveway on West Homosassa Trail and is proposed to be a right in, right out only. Staff has requested that there be a raised separator on Homosassa Trail. We are continuing our engineer to work with the county engineer on that. That is also FDOT right-of-way, and that our proposed driveway there immediately is across the street from the racetrack driveway. And so racetrack right now has a driveway where you can do right in, left out. And so this would also, inhibit anyone's ability coming out of the racetrack to make a left onto Homosassa Trail. Certainly that would impact some FDOT traffic patterns. And so we have shown the raised separator on the new PUD plan in accordance with the staff's comments, but we would just ask that it's very clear in the conditions that that's subject to both the county engineer and FDOT's approval, as though, we expect there may be some additional issues that could be raised as they look at that closer. So we are specifically asking that. In your staff report, the original concept plan that had been submitted had 2 general conditions about ingress and egress and relocating or revising those access points. Staff had concerns about that being just very generalized statements. And so we have removed those. This PUD would lock in exactly where those access points would be. And so we have addressed that concern. We do believe that the proposed PUD is consistent with your comprehensive plan, as reflected also in your staff report. It is consistent with your policy 17.2.7 as well as 17.6.2. Again, this is a commercial property that was already previously developed as commercial. It's being proposed to be redeveloped and certainly would have very minimal environmental limitations, our concerns, and it is a very appropriate location, as you've seen from previous development there, for commercial development. Consistency with your land development code, access management, the proposed access points have been reviewed and approved by the county engineer. We do acknowledge that the stormwater will have to meet all of the LDC standards. In terms of the ISR, we are asking for the continuation of the previously approved 75% ISR. As you can see, based on even our parking at 59 spaces and the 2 proposed buildings, it's a little tight, and so we do need that 75% in order to incorporate all of those requirements under your code. FAR proposed, again, will be less than the 0.1. And landscaping buffer is a continuation of that same request. We will have this 10 feet along the north and west and looking for the reduced buffers of 5 feet along the south and east property lines. Tree preservation, we've talked about the 2 of the 3 specimen trees will be preserved, and a preservation plan will be, of course, submitted at the time of permitting. As far as parking standards, the IT manual requires 55 spaces. 59 are currently proposed. They are not delineated on that plan in front of you on the concept plan, and that is on purpose in case things have to move slightly, but we will meet, of course, that minimum 55 spaces that would be required for the quick service restaurant and the drive-through coffee shop. Loading zone will again be addressed during permitting and requirements with the LDC. Setbacks have all been met. Pedestrian amenities and sidewalks, again, will be met in accordance with the LDC. You saw in the photos there are existing sidewalks along the property, and signage will comply with the LDC standards. The property is currently served by Citrus County Utilities for sanitary sewer, the Homosassa Special Water District for potable water, and solid waste. We have submitted a letter showing that there is sufficient capacity at the landfill. So with that, I'm happy to answer any specific questions you have or look at the concept plan in more detail, as I know you haven't had it for a long time, and I apologize about that. Like I said, we also have our engineer with us. So thank you all for your time. Appreciate it.
Does staff have questions?
Yeah, just a few. Thank you. I appreciate you moving the dumpster. That seemed to be the biggest, removing that deviation on the new plan seemed to be the biggest change on that. But question for you, it says proposed use, quick serve restaurant and coffee shop, and I know that's in the parking, but then we also have the note that says it would include all permitted uses as stipulated in a GNC zoning district. So can you elaborate a little bit? You're not really asking for quick serve and coffee, but anything in GNC, is that correct?
Well, I believe under the conditions that were proposed by staff, the parking would correlate, so it would have to be the quick serve restaurant. So if that use changed and the parking requirements changed, we would have to come back if we exceeded the number of spaces that were needed. But that was to allow flexibility on the uses in case, one of the tenants fell through and another prospective tenant could, fit all of the requirements that was presented. I do have permission to share with you today. They've recently gotten to a point that the two tenants are proposed to be a drive-through Chipotle and a Starbucks. Those are fairly locked in at this point, so I don't predict that you'll have any change. But again, that was to allow that flexibility so that if something changed.
Okay, so you definitely want all GNC uses, but you do have some people that possibly would be there. Am I reading that right? Okay.
Correct.
Okay, I'm not understanding on the plan where stormwater, how that's going to be addressed. I know you say you're going to make it, and that's great, but how are you going to address that? Because there's not really any on the site.
Yeah, that's probably a better question for the engineer to address, so I'll have Troy come up.
Good morning, Commission. My name is Troy Carter, C-A-R-T-E-R. My address is 2818 Cypress Ridge Boulevard in Wesley Chapel, and I have been sworn. With respect to stormwater, so because of the existing impervious conditions out there on the site, we are actually going to be meeting de minimis criteria. In fact, we already have our Swift Mud permit. Now, we are going to have an FDOT drainage connection permit, as most of it flows into stormwater inlets in their right-of-way. That will be the controlling factor, as they have the most stringent criteria. I've already met with the county engineer, and he agrees we meet your de minimis criteria as well. So for us, we may have to supplement with some underground chambers to meet DOT's criteria, but we have no objections to agreeing we're going to meet with your
So for a
LDC
planner,
standards.
non-engineer, basically you're saying you're talking about underground stormwater, possibly with pipes leading elsewhere. Am I correct?
Potentially to, right now it outfalls to
I got to
FDOT's.
dumb it down, sorry.
No worries. Potentially right now it outfalls to FDOT's storm sewer system. We are going to have to maintain that connection. If we are able to reduce the sheet flow, the total amount of flow based on the impervious area, we will continue to do that, or we will pipe it underground and get it into their storm sewer system. But as I mentioned before, we've already pulled our permit with Swift Mud under the de minimis criteria. Your LDC has a similar criteria, which we will also meet. So it's just going to come down to meeting FDOT, and it would in all cases anyway, because they have the most stringent criteria out there for the AHJs.
Okay. There's not anything out there right now, though, right? I know you said
No,
it
ma'am,
currently does, but it does.
There's a small depressional area in the southeast corner of the site.
Thank
We
you.
will model that, but there is no stormwater out. This was, as you can see, developed a very long time ago.
Yeah.
No, everything is non-conforming
I
out.
walked it, I'm like, maybe a swale, but okay. I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. No problem.
That's all, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Questions by the board?
I have a question on, I'm looking at your original concept plan. I don't have the current one with me. Your concept plan shows the specimen trees, their location to be preserved, but it doesn't show the one that's being taken out. Maybe your new plan shows that, or you could show that to me.
It does not. Yeah.
You could show that to me on the screen up there.
No. Can you point? I don't have a pointer.
The top one's supposed to be,
Oh.
there you go, yeah.
There
I
we
just didn't
go.
Do it right.
You want to?
Yeah, I'd say generally,
If
tricky.
you hold the, I think this top button.
the top button. Okay.
Towards this, there you go.
I'd say, you see this kind of parking row, I know the stripes aren't delineated right in front of the building. That's where it is. So it's pretty centralized to the site, that specimen tree. And so another issue is, one, it's the geometry of the site because it's so central to the site that we're developing. The other issue is that this site was developed a very long time ago. It is now within a floodplain, so we're gonna have to raise these buildings up. We are not gonna be able to raise them up high enough to get out of the floodplain, so we're gonna have to flood-proof a portion. So we're kind of playing a balance game with the architects on being cost efficient with that. But regardless, it's so close to where that new finished floor will be, I wouldn't be able to save it from the grading perspective. Whereas the other two specimen trees are kind of on the perimeter of the site, so by that point, I should have been graded down, and I'll be tying down to existing grade.
Thank you.
Of course.
Mr. Facemeyer? No. Mr. Bozeman?
Of course.
I saw you in the last one, like, this guy's got a lot of questions.
I think it's a good plan. That whole area I'm very familiar with. Kind of become a little bit of an eyesore. Are you going to be removing all the existing buildings?
Yes,
Okay, and so you're going to be basically looking at a clean slate.
absolutely.
All the asphalt, all the base materials coming out. So I guess my question is, if that's the case, why can't you reduce the ISR? What's preventing you from actually reducing ISR a little bit? Back to the 70%.
You know, it's more of a market question. It's about getting what they need for this site. I would say that because we already had that condition in the PUD entitlement that was previously approved, we went under the assumption that that would be acceptable by staff, and I think staff is in support of that. But to reduce that any more, the balance we're really running into is kind of the parking issue, right? So the code requires, I believe, 1 per 70 square feet gross floor area. So that drives the parking up really high. So we've been kind of playing this game with staff of, okay, well, the ITE says 55. We're trying to come up above that and balance that. So I'm running into an issue there with the impervious surface ratio. And I will say on the matter of parking that these are complementary uses. We've now told you what the uses are going to be. So now you have Starbucks, who's going to be, heavy morning traffic. Chipotle is not even going to be, that's a lunch rush. That's an evening dinner rush. I will state also that Chipotle drive-through lane is pickup only. There's no on-site ordering. So the majority of their parking is going to be, the majority of their traffic will be parking. Majority of Starbucks traffic will be drive-through. So we feel pretty good about the parking situation. But to try to drive the impervious down, as Lauren mentioned previously, I'm like 0.1 on my floor area ratio. I'm not cramming a bunch of buildings on here. I'm not trying to drive the pavement up. I'm just trying to meet the parking code. And then a little bit of excess, I'm not meeting the parking code. I'm meeting the national ITE standard, but going a little bit in excess, and that's what's driving it up. So that's.
Will be an eat-in and drive-through?
It's a pickup only. It's called Chipotle concept. So
Okay.
There's no on-site ordering. There's no menu board. You order on your phone or whatever, and then someone will come and pick it up at the window. So that cuts down queue times dramatically. But again, the majority of their business is still foot traffic, whereas with the Starbucks also being offset with their rush hours, the majority of their traffic is going to be through the drive-through.
Okay.
So we're not concerned about parking. I'd say there's been a global shift in municipalities as it comes to commercial, non-essential uses. Hey, if we don't meet the parking, we're only hurting ourselves. If I go somewhere for lunch and I don't have a parking stall, I'm going to go a block down the road and find somewhere else, for a fast casual type use.
I mean, I was just going to suggest the consideration of maybe some type of pervious paving.
Isn't that a great? So we actually suggested that, but your code does not count that as impervious. So that was our initial suggestion was let us do some impervious pavers, but that still qualifies as impervious surface per your code. So for us, we went back to asphalt. What's the trade? That's more maintenance. It's a better maintenance issue if we're not getting the credit for it.
Yeah, no, I understand. In terms of footprint, what's existing now, square footage, and I know a couple of those buildings I know one of them at least is 2-story. And then
That's a great
Little
question. I
footprint.
don't know off the top of my head. I know it's more than what we're proposing.
So it is gonna be a reduction in the square footage footprint of the two buildings.
Yes, sir.
So, okay. Okay, and then
I'm hearing half from my
Yeah.
client.
yeah, I mean, ISR should be a breeze to even go lower, but whatever. If you're entitled to it, then so be it. I used to drive through there when I lived down in River Haven, and I'm glad I had a jacked up truck on many days just to make it through the water, just rainwater.
Yeah, yeah.
Just not flood water, I'm talking about just rainwater, so, that's it.
Good morning.
Morning.
These probably, the first couple of questions is probably gonna be for your engineer. I'm gonna start with the stormwater.
Yes, sir.
Here's off-site, that's what I heard your testimony, right? It's an off-site, location where the water's gonna be draining to.
Yes, in the existing condition, it's a little bit of a split basin, but the majority of the water is flowing to the northwesterly direction. And there's curb inlets on 19 and then on Homosassa Trail. But the inlet sewer system on Homosassa Trail is also connected to 19. So that's all FDOT-owned storm sewer systems. So anytime you want to connect, whether you sheet flow into their system or you do a pipe connection like we potentially talked about, anytime you do that, you're going to have to adhere to FDOT criteria. So that's going to be 100-year storm events, all intervals. It's pretty much the hardest one you're going to run into.
You gonna have any kind of secondary runoff or
I don't
site storage of some sort? 'Cause
potentially.
you're right there at the coastal high water.
Correct. No, because it's a coastal zone, we won't have any floodplain mitigation. We do not do floodplain mitigation for coastal zones. It's the ocean coming in. We can't hold it. But we will, like likely said, we will have some kind of underground system to provide some type of additional storage volume that will technically flood in a flooding event. But we will be meeting all of the FDOT criteria. So it will be an improvement from what's out there today.
All right, my next question is gonna go to the DOT question, but, turn lanes off of US 19,
You know,
will there be any or any deceleration?
there is an existing right
deceleration
turn
lanes?
lane, I believe, that was actually recently built, very recently, within the last couple of years. Has plenty of queuing storage for this development. From a DOT access management standpoint, we'll be permitting this as a safety upgrade. As Lauren mentioned, there's two non-conforming driveways out there today. Those are obviously major safety concerns. We're going to be removing both of those. We've already met with DOT. They agree that this will qualify for a safety upgrade, so they are in support of it. This is a bit of an atypical site in that it's surrounded by right-of-way on all four sides, and my parcel's only a few hundred feet in each side, so I'm going to have access management spacing issues, and we work diligently with the county engineer on that. Also on that note, I'd like to say a special thank you to Alexander Alt with Citrus County. He was our liaison for this project. He brokered the meetings between us and the county engineer and Department of Public Works, but I told him I would give him a shout out, so I'm doing that now.
So are you considering the aqueduct entrance road? That still be a kind of an entrance to your facility, so that's coming off at 19. Has that been it's not in your traffic study, because your traffic study from ITE specifically states that there is no intersections involved. And I have to beg to differ, there are intersections involved with this parcel.
You looking for a turn lane on Aqueduct? Sorry.
I'm just looking for what your plan is.
Our plan is just to do,
And has
access
DOT,
connections.
or have you been in contact with DOT? Have they gave you any kind of a idea of what you need to do there? Because that's gonna bring up my next question, but I want to get an answer for this one.
Yes, sir. DOT, as of right now, is not requiring us to build any turn lanes for this project because of the existing turn lane on US 19 to get off their road.
Onto Homosassa, but what about
Correct.
Aqueduct?
I don't believe it warrants it.
Aqueduct's gonna be your main entrance to Starbucks.
I believe the Homosassa Trail will be.
So Chipotle's on the Aqueduct side then?
Correct.
And
Correct.
Starbucks, okay, I got them.
We are kind of saying we do believe our main access is going to be coming obviously from 19, whether you're going northbound or southbound. So it's really going to be that Homosassa Trail, the right in there, that would be the main access. And from DOT standards, they are not requiring any kind of decel lane there because of the existing decel on 19, nor has a county engineer asked any of that from us either.
So if you're on Homosassa Trail heading west, you can't turn in to your Chipotle or Starbucks.
No, unfortunately
You have to
not.
go down Pittsburgh And then aqueduct can come in that way.
Well, there's an access off Pittsburgh, yes, also, but yes, and
One of those two.
that was stipulated by the county engineer. He wanted the raised median there. I guess there's been some issues with the racetrack in turning conflicting movements.
And then can you touch about the 5-foot buffer? Why you just need a 5-foot buffer on the, what is that, the south and east side, as opposed to the standard code buffer?
So that was, again, part of the previously approved PUD, so we looked at that as a standing condition. And so that's kind of how we designed everything around this site is to, and we're, as you can see from this plan, we're kind of maxed out on space. And so we just kind of held that over from the previously approved PUD.
So correct me if I'm wrong in my understanding, and I'm gonna ask the same question to the county. If it's expired, then it doesn't exist, right?
That's correct, but it's
So then
still,
you have a clean slate.
yes, I would say that there's still a precedent there because it had already been previously approved by staff. These are things we have talked about with staff as ongoing, and I believe staff is in support of, but I'll let them speak to that.
And then, how about loading zones? Where are your loading zones located?
We're looking at potentially putting them in the drive-through lanes or somewhere else on site. So for these types of businesses, I think we had this on our plan, I don't know if we removed the note, but all loading will occur during non-business hours. That's standard practice for that, and we have no problem putting that in a binding note or whatever condition, because for these people, they want to come in, they usually pay overtime. We're very familiar with these users. They'll bring in a truck overnight. They want to be doing their loading 4 to 4:30 in the morning before any traffic gets on site, because as you can imagine, circulation with those delivery trucks is a nightmare. So they schedule all that to be off hours, and we're in complete agreement with making that binding with whatever mechanism the county wants.
Then I'm gonna go back to the parking spaces. Our code says you have to have 74.
Mm-hmm.
You're proposing 59 with 2 of them being ADA, so that'd be 1 ADA for each restaurant.
I believe we have 3, is that correct?
57 regular places and 2 ADAs. So I'm only can assume that they're only going because one of your showings only show 1 ADA parking, and that's in your parking from ITE on the drawings that they provided, and it's only on the Starbucks side. So
Then I would apologize. That's a clerical error. There should be at least 3. Code would require at least 3, and there will be at least 1 at each building.
okay, I'm having a hard time with the math. I went out there 3 different times trying to figure out how you're going to get with your design here and your site plan. And that was with the dumpster in the corner up at 19. I'm not sure how you can meet our code even if you went with 59 parking spaces. I think the structures or the square footage of the lot versus what's required to our land development code is, I think got a big separation there. Can you?
I will tell you it is tight. I will tell you absolutely, yes, sir, it is tight, but I believe I can get there.
So how will that fit for tight being for customers?
We still will be meeting all standards. We're not asking for any deviations on stall sizes. We're not asking for any deviation on lane widths. I believe the parking stall size here is a 10 by 20, which is a little bit larger than what you typically see for commercial, which is in most municipalities 9 by 18. So we're not asking for any deviations there. Lane widths, everything else will be met.
All right, then my last question is the separation on Homosassa that's going to prevent racetrack. Has racetrack agreed to this? Has there been any kind of discussion? It's just going to be, we're going to put in a parking separation and you have to live with what you already got.
I could not agree more, and that's why we're kind of hammering that point home, that this is a direct request from the county engineer. We are willing to agree to it under the pretense that if that changes later based on racetrack's response, that we don't have to come back for a PD amendment, because I completely agree. I don't know, I'm not aware of any previous condition that would allow that access to be modified. I'm not an attorney, but it is a concern of mine as well, and so that's why we wanted that stated for the record.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I have some questions. I know we've kind of beat the drainage question to death, but my concern being that this is in a flood zone, and you spoke that you're going to do some flood proofing, but you're also going to have to do some elevating. So, and we know that there's a requirement that you have to maintain, you can't have any additional flow off of the property. That's a requirement, even though it's treating as a de minimis project. So that you'll be looking at all of that with FDOT and.
Yeah, I would state, just because it's come up, with the coastal flood zone, that is the ocean flood. So the riverine floodplains, we obviously, we mitigate for. We provide equivalent compensation, or we show with advanced hydraulic modeling that we're not going to cause adverse impacts off-site. But with the coastal zone, it is what it is. If the ocean comes in, no amount of digging in the dirt is going to stop that. So that's just something we have to kind of mitigate for. And like I said, we kind of play a balancing act with flood-proofing the building up to, getting the building up to a reasonably high elevation, and then flood-proofing what we can't accommodate for. But the reality is that's not the same situation as like a riverine floodplain situation.
Okay. Let me see. I appreciate, I know we had some nonconformities. I appreciate you removing some of the write-ins, right? Everything off of 19, all the access points. I do have a question on the one on Homosassa Trail, because at this point you've somewhat negotiated a write-in, write-out with the raised concrete median, but you talked about still having to negotiate, I know with the county, but with FDOT as well. So if for some reason they don't allow that, would you be agreeable to just a write-in there? I just have concerns because of its proximity to US 19. Is that, I saw something in here that talked about it, there was a discussion about just doing a write-in.
Yes.
Being that it's kind of up in the air until
Yes,
you.
I think the way the condition was originally written is it can be a write-in, write-out with a raised concrete median, or a write-in only. That was
Okay.
later revised to be a write-in only with a concrete median. So I believe that language is kind of in there, and that's something that we'll work out with the county engineer. Another issue, we kind of said we want to make sure that this is something that the county engineer can rule on later as we get deeper into discussions with FDOT. But yes, the write-in only was part of that condition, I believe.
Okay, this is a busy area. I can tell you that. Your parking study and traffic study, there was a diagram in the traffic study that showed the internal circulation. So I can tell you with these coffee shops, and you know that they're primarily very busy at the AM peak hours and all of that.
Yes,
and I
yes,
appreciated, I saw that you had your internal circulation where it comes in and everything kind of cues in from the front, and this one doesn't show it. I don't even think we have a slide for it, but then it circles around the building, so it's given maximum cue as much as it can. But I don't see that as a condition or anything to that extent with, can you speak to that? Because we do have other areas in the county where they queue right out onto the highway. So you got Homosassa, and then you've got the 19.
Sure, absolutely. So let me see if I can get fancy again. So kind of where the center of this is, that's actually going to be our pickup window.
Right.
And so Starbucks has very rigid queuing requirements, more than pretty much any user we know. I'm going to ballpark it off the top of my head, but as you see, it does wrap all the way around, down, back out through here. So we're providing maybe 19, 20 spaces of queuing before we even impact our own drive aisle.
Okay.
Now, the way your code is written is, hey, you need to measure this to our right-of-way because, again, if your queuing backs up into your drive aisle, you're impacting your own business. That's your problem. It's our problem when it spills out into public right-of-way.
Exactly.
We do meet all of your queuing criteria excessively because, as you would see, let's take the Starbucks, for example. Oh, man, I'm so bad at this. I'm sorry.
It's really hard.
Okay.
It's tricky.
If you could try to see from that pickup window I just pointed out and how that wraps around, the nearest exit point would be Homosassa Trail. You're picking up another couple hundred feet of queuing before, so I don't know. Ballparking, but maybe 40 cars. I don't think they get that far backed up.
Okay. Ms. Rubenstein, you mentioned about the parking spaces that you wanted to leave them off of the master site because it still allows you some flexibility as you're designing the site. And I get that with the traffic study because most of these it's mostly traffic flowing through that does take up some of your, what would normally be people parking where you don't have a window to drive around. So I kind of understand your traffic study and parking study. The one thing that I wanted to ask though was you moved your dumpster, which I know you negotiated with staff. Now you did speak a little bit about deliveries and that they're going to be done during off hours because I have a concern with the dumpster is now typically your garbage trucks back in, they lift up the dumpster, they're going to be sitting there right where the entrance is off of Homosassa Trail. So please tell me that they're going to be coming during off hours, because I could see that being a major conflict.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, I'd rather have the dumpster back and do the setback variance.
Most solid waste companies will agree to that. That's something that can be scheduled ahead of time, and we'd be absolutely willing to agree to that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and if the dumpster was going to remain at the other location, the only thing was the visibility triangle, which I believe you were going to be out of that from looking at where the pavement was. And
for the record on that, the previous PUD did have an entitlement to have that 10-foot setback off Pittsburgh Avenue, but the corner we were placing it in would have triggered the setback on a Homosassa Trail as well. And so that's kind of where we got hung up and ended up moving it back. And I will say we've also run vehicle turning analysis and confirmed dump trucks will have no problem making that turn and getting access to that dumpster.
okay. Okay, I think that was all my questions. Thank you.
I got one more. Sorry.
Mr. Barmas.
I got so many notes here.
Sure.
What is your reasonable height, your building height that you're talking?
22 feet, 23 feet in that area. No more than 25, I wouldn't think, with the parapet.
So we're talking the curb and 2 steps to get into the establishment?
Correct, but it'd be like a curb ramp with a raised sidewalk around it, and then obviously working its way up to the building, yeah.
So wouldn't that be taking some of your ADA ramp requirements?
We will have.
It really makes it really tight when you bring up the height.
Yeah, we will have to meet all ADA requirements from the parking stalls to the building and, on the route to the dumpster. So, yes, that will be required. Again, we're going to be playing this game of how high can we raise it, still meet all the code requirements, and then where does that leave us in terms of flood proofing?
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No. Do you have any further questions?
Yes.
Oh, Mr. Bozeman.
What do you anticipate the finished grade, the slab on grade, finished elevation being?
9 would be desirable.
That'll allow for the 2% on the ADA?
Yeah, we would have to.
Make it a switchback or something?
Could be a switchback. There could be small retaining walls, or maybe like a modified curb around the perimeter to make up some of that grade differential. A lot of ways we can get creative there, but we have not gotten that far yet.
But part of your stormwater management design could involve some underground vault storage.
Yeah, we don't have room, obviously, from this plan. We don't have room for a surface water system. It would have to be, we tend to go with the ADS underground chambers. That's our preferred vendor.
Yeah, I've built them. But there's a certain capacity, and then you have to have an overflow.
Sure. And that overflow would be a direct pipe connection to DOT.
Direct pipe, okay, and then everything else will be sheet flow?
Correct.
Okay, all right. I think you addressed the drive-through locations, because that was a concern I had, because when you go down 44 before you get to Crystal River, Dunkin' Donuts backs out into 44 occasionally, so we need to definitely maintain that. That can be a problem. What about hours of operation? Any clue when these businesses are going to be open? I'm sure Starbucks will open early.
Starbucks will be open early and probably open till 9, 10 p.m. would be my guess. I don't know if you know exactly. Chipotle, I'm again 11 to 9, maybe at 10:30. Maybe
no 24-hour.
No.
Okay. That's it. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll now hear from staff.
And Joanna Gatu, Deputy Growth Management Director. A caution, first of all, I'm correct. One of you said this is an eyesore. You are correct. Absolutely, the buildings are crumbling before us. This is not an application for a Starbucks or a Chipotle or for a quick serve or for a coffee shop. None of those commitments have been made. So y'all have been burned before by people saying it's going to be such and such, and it can't be. They're asking for any general commercial use. So all the specifics about, well, Chipotle doesn't have parking and we're going to have hours of operation, none of that is part of this application. I would love to see that commitment, but we didn't get that. So this is simply for general commercial. Now, you've already pointed out there's a whole bunch of lots here. The general commercial, the PUD is expired. I heard a bunch of things about entitlements. They had 75% before. They had a reduced setback before. There's no entitlements. The PUD is expired. They are asking to repeat what was previously approved. That's up to you and the Board of County Commissioners on whether those are appropriate. Staff is not saying they're automatically in there or we're supporting it. We're saying they were previously approved, they're gone now. They want them again. So this was the original concept plan from prior, the old one that has expired now. I'm pointing this out mainly because of the Homosassa Trail discussion. The county engineer at the time said, you are not getting an access point on Homosassa Trail, period. On this application, they really, really want one. So that's where the right-in, right-out with the raised median. Our county engineer said, okay, the only way we can do this is right-in, right-out safety with that raised median. It's not I'll give you a right-in, right-out without the raised median because it's going to make racetrack mad. They can't have it if they don't have the raised median. Now, I have the county engineers supposedly watching this and ready to come down if we need to discuss this with them. But that's the issue is Homosassa Trail, it just can't happen unless this one safety provision, the racetrack right in and right out there is not really allowed by engineering. And that's why they feel confident that taking it away from them on that point is appropriate because of its proximity to 19. We can go into those details if you want to with the county engineer, but that was pretty important. Prior to this, it was not approved at all. This applicant has wanted that very badly. I've not been involved in any of these discussions with the county engineer, so I'm getting this from the engineers and not from their engineer. But that's the reason, is the only way we can make this safety-wise on Homosassa Trail is with that raised median. So a couple great things, besides taking away some really awful crumbling buildings, is you can see all the access points that are being removed. And I just talked about the Homosassa Trail in the north part. That is completely new. There is a drive there, but it's not at all like this. The 2 access points on 19 being removed, wonderful, absolutely great. They're not really travelable right now. I'm not sure I could get a bike in there. They're pretty narrow and crumbling, but they are there on paper. We also have one on Aqueduct that's being relocated, and I'll show you in the pictures actually on Aqueduct. It's kind of pavement from 19 almost to where the new drive is, kind of a free-for-all because that's how it was. And then over there in Pittsburgh, one of the 2 access points is being removed. So that's all wonderful as far as removing so many non-conforming access points from the 70s and 80s. So this is one of the 2 that are being removed on Pittsburgh. The one on the far one would be the one remaining. I'm sure they're going to upgrade that, but this is the one that will come out. Why we allowed to, this is the 70s and 80s. We allowed a lot of stuff back then. This is kind of the free-for-all on Aqueduct I talked about. You can kind of look that it is pavement just past this too. This is looking toward 19. So a couple things that they are asking for, the 5-foot buffer instead of 10-foot on the south side and the east side. Again, those were part of the previous approval, but not part of, it's expired. I did put the stars on where my estimate on the trees are. So I'm very happy that they're keeping this one. It's really hard to justify removal of that one because Pittsburgh is a tree canopy protected area in our land development code. You have to have a very strong extenuating circumstance to remove those trees. No reason to. The one up here on the right that I know they're kind of taking credit for, that's actually in the right-of-way. They can't remove that. That's the county public tree. That's part of that tree canopy area, so that can't come out anyway. The other one that they're taking out is right here. That's my best guess looking at GIS as to where it's going on the proposed plan. This plan, I wish it was more specific. I did try very hard for this applicant to get you a better, more detailed plan. I agree with one of the members that said maybe the math isn't mathing and how you can fit this application in here and fit in landscaping and fit in parking. I don't know how either. I think it's going to be very challenging for them, and we don't have a plan to sew it. I heard it was tight. I would have liked to have seen it. That would have been very helpful, as well as tying down some of these uses. That would have helped us a lot on this application. So this is the tree that we're saving, yay, on Pittsburgh. It is on their property. It looks like it's thriving. This is a tree canopy area, which you can see on the west side of this, on the left side of this area. And this is the one that's proposed for removal. It is up against that particular building, but it looks to be on the same shape, so that one would come down in this plan. This is looking towards the racetrack. There you can see racetrack across the street. I did want to point out in this one, this kind of shows the specimen tree there at the top of the picture. And there's a better picture of that tree that's in the right of way, so it has to stay anyway. They will not get approval to remove that. And the site is really, really falling apart. A couple things that you talked about that I heard. First of all, on FEMA, I'm sure Mr. Barnes should have called me out on this. The FEMA standards that I put in the staff report are wrong. So this is an AE flood area with a base flood elevation of 9 and 10 feet, meaning it'll have to be at 10 and 11. I know I heard him say 9 would be preferred. It's not doesn't meet our code. Their ground elevation is varied about 5 to 7, so they are going to have to come up a little bit on that. But these sites were built in 74 and 88, so we know they're very, 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 very old. So some of the deviations I talked about, so we have the deviation for the ISR, we have the deviation for the buffers. They have removed I'm very happy they removed the dumpster and dealt with that, and they are keeping the one tree. You heard about stormwater, because I was puzzled where that would be. There's just no room on their plan for that, but they're going to do the underground, which makes total sense. Let's see. I think I've covered most of it. I would have liked to have seen more specific uses so we can put some of those very specific conditions in. We don't have that. Hope maybe by BCC they can commit to that more, and we can try to deal with that. The conditions that are proposed before you, we did for the Homosassa Trail say, unless otherwise approved by the county engineer, to leave it open for discussions with that concrete median. I really don't think that's open for discussion, but they are still working on that. Anytime you see a reference in the conditions to the master plan of June 24th, we did have a master plan on July 17th. As I pointed out, the one thing on that July 17th to point out was that 10-foot setback for the dumpster is gone. So that's the one big change to point out. I think that's all I have. There are 17 conditions in your packet. One of them deals with parking, saying if there are 2 fast food drive uses, 55 spaces must be provided. That doesn't need to be part of this application. Our land development code does allow them to submit a parking study without a PUD at all. They can submit a parking study based on ITE, based on the uses. So if this turns out to be not a Starbucks and Chipotle and an office and a pawn shop, they can give us that parking standard, and we can look at that. Don't have a lot of detail here to give you, so we have defaulted to land development code standards with the exception of the deviations such as ISR. Any questions?
First of all, are there any questions by the applicant?
I always keep forgetting that, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Stone?
Joanna, could you show me that picture of the specimen tree that's going to be removed?
Mm-hmm. It's a bit of a close-up. There are some green. It's not completely dead.
Is it a little mound it's sitting on? Is that elevated from the parking area? From the front of that car up to the...
No, not really. Not that I noticed. I really didn't see a lot of any mound berm swales at all. There's one very small area.
Okay, thank you.
That might be a washout. We do know this area does regularly flood.
Sure.
Mr. Facemeyer?
Joanna, just a couple quick things. I was around when we heard this application before also, so my memory's-
Okay, you've been around a while, yes.
And I actually probably voted in favor of it, but I do remember I was concerned about the ingress and egress. Do you recall, and I know you had a slide about comparing the existing site plan to the proposed. Do you remember what we approved for the ingress and egress in 2020?
Right, so that is the conditions. You have a strike-through underline with the conditions. So that was simply access shall be limited to the one full access on Aqueduct lined up with the driveway and on South Pittsburgh as approved by engineering. They did not at all approve anything on Homosassa Trail.
Okay. My second comment is maybe more of an editorial comment, because I was going to ask about the raised separation on Homosassa Trail. That is somewhat controversial in other parts of the county when we go through applications like this. But I will say I do understand from a motorist point of view why you don't want a left out coming out of racetrack. Because there's already conflicts there, and I don't probably travel that area probably as much as many others in this room. But with increased traffic, I think the raised barrier probably is a good thing.
Yeah, our county engineer, from what I understand, would prefer there be no access on Homosassa Trail at all with this application. But if we're going to allow a right in and right out, that seemed to be the only way they could come away with it. But there is that provision in here that they can keep those negotiations open.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Bozeman? Do you have any questions? Sad?
No.
Okay, Ms. Murphy.
Let her off the hook.
What? Oh, my goodness.
Well, I can come up with something.
No, that's okay. It's okay.
Ms. Murphy? No. Okay. Mr. Barmas?
Hi, hey Joanna. We heard testimony from the attorney there that they made a commitment to these locations being Starbucks and Chipotle. Can we not, now that we've heard that commitment, wasn't that part of the record, and that we can assume?
You heard
now,
my
I use
follow-up.
that word assume very lightly, but they did make a commitment. So our decision, can we base that on?
No. You did hear my follow-up with her is you still want to have all commercial uses, and her reply was yes. You're welcome to ask this to her in the rebuttal, but no, we cannot force them to have a specific use, specific brand name. We can say this is limited to quick serve and coffee if we want to, but they have not applied for that. So we can't really bring that out of a vacuum. It's mentioned in their traffic study.
Right.
But it's also mentioned we want all commercial uses. So that's what I was kind of saying is I would encourage them to be a lot more specific. This was really hard because I would love to have this redeveloped and torn down, but I don't know what's going to go here to help. And so I would like to have more of a commitment from them, but we can't force that.
Hey, there's a big difference between a McDonald's drive-through and a Chipotle's drive-through with loads of traffic. So
And an office building or a retail store,
Right.
and all of those could be allowed. Yes, I agree, and that's why Ms. Riverson's very well aware. I've been pushing this up and pushing this with her, but so far, no.
So what is it? Does the conceptual plan that we're looking at with 2 buildings,
Yes.
2 drive-throughs is
Not necessarily drive-through.
just the 2 buildings,
Two
the square footage
commercial
of the
uses.
buildings,
Yes.
which will also dictate the number of parking places if they change everything. So
Yes. I did put a condition that if it's like this and it's 2 quick serves and, per this study, sure, these number of parking spaces seem to work, but with ITE, but I don't know what's going to go here. And that's why I really would have liked to have seen more specifics here.
me too. My
But,
next question is, do you have any idea where their off-site DRA is
Nope.
for this?
No,
I couldn't
was
find
curious.
one myself. I mean, I looked. I
Yeah.
could not find. I saw the pipe going down Suncoast, but where it ended, nobody knew.
I walked this whole property, and boy, it's bad. But I saw one little tiny, maybe depression area, and that was it. And I don't know. The applicant might in their rebuttal address that.
And then Homosassa Trail, is that a county road or a state road?
It is a county road. I heard a couple of references to FDOT, and that they would be important for US 19 and that corner. But Homosassa Trail is entirely a county road. That's why the county engineer is so heavily involved. He does not want access this close to 19 if we can help it. But
All right, so let's talk about the buffers. Is the county okay with the 5-foot buffer from the previous?
there's no reason to justify it at this time. It was approved before. I'm not going to kick and scream and jump up and down and say no, but 10 foot is the minimum, and I have no justification to say, okay, 5 foot's fine. 10 foot is the minimum, so if they could demonstrate with a site plan, we're so tight, we have to fit this and that, sure, but I just don't have that before me right now.
All right, then, let's see. Just a few notes here, so.
1 or 2.
The impervious surface rating in 70 versus 75%, does the county have? I know we didn't have a problem with, I guess, in 2020 with what was going in there, but the intents of that, what was going in, is a lot less, in my opinion, than what's going in there now, or what their intent is, or what they told us might be going in there.
Right. Again, relief from the code should be justified. I don't have anything to support that. I'm not saying it can't be supported, but right now what I have is what's before you. So, if we knew specific uses and here's the parking and look, we're running out of space and we need a reduced buffer and we need an increased ISR, that would be easier to answer. Right now, I don't have anything to justify to support that.
And then on that specimen tree that they're gonna, requesting to remove, that's not a protected tree?
It's specimen, so it's protected, but they can ask for removal. I mean, their original plan removed both of them, so I compliment them that they're keeping the one on the tree line road. That's great, but they can ask to remove it.
And who makes that decision?
The Board of County Commissioners is part of the PUD.
Would this be part of the tree preservation of the new land development code?
Yes, as a specimen tree, absolutely. There's not a lot of trees on site, but there are those two big ones. There's a couple palm trees over by the car wash.
I think that might be it. Thank you.
Okay.
Got one.
Mr. Bozeman.
Well,
Be totally quiet.
With reading back through the conditions, are you comfortable with what we have in there now proposed? And is the applicant agreeable?
I know the applicant is not agreeable with the raised traffic separator. I haven't heard anything from them that says they're opposed to any of the others. It's the conditions that are existing. We did put in there the conditions that they're asking for, the 75% and the reduced buffer. That's up to you. It doesn't mean staff supporting it. It means it's put on a condition, and it's up to you if you want to approve it or not.
Okay,
Actually, I have another question.
Mr. Barnes.
I got these little notes scattered everywhere.
It's fine.
The loading zone. You said it's going to be after hours, but that they would do that. I would want to see number 13 changed to deflect that, to say that there would be no deliveries during operation hours of either business.
The problem is we don't know the
possible.
Yeah, we don't know the
what
use.
business it is, right?
It could be a 24/7 convenience store for all we know, so we don't know the uses. So when we talk about after hours, that's a great commitment, but we don't know what's going to be there or if they're even going to have after hours.
I'm just looking for something to grab a hold of me to say, yes, let's tell myself to approve this.
Agreed. That's my problem too, is I want to clean up this site, but I don't have the specifics to try to go here, and that was where I was struggling as well, as you probably can hear.
Engineering in me is killing me.
Yeah.
This design.
As is the planner. I think if we saw some more detail and some specific uses, this might be a fantastic idea. Right now, I don't have anything tied down to support some of it.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any, I'm sorry, the timing between today's hearing and recommendation from this board versus the Board of County Commission hearing for final approval, disapproval, is there adequate time to get any commitments from, and this is maybe a question I should have asked them, but if what they have initially talked about, whether it's a Chipotle or some other drive-through or a Starbucks or another drive-through, the parking spaces, the ISR, similar like buildings, is there time to?
Very limited. Now, that's what you kind of caught me. That's kind of what I'm speaking to the people sitting behind me when I'm saying some of that stuff is I hope we get that. We have about maybe a week or two before quasi-judicial for the September hearing. So we're running into, we can always delay it. I think the more specifics, the better. I expect the commissioners are going to have some of the same issues y'all are talking about in the lack of specificity here and support. Absolutely want this redeveloped, tear it down, redo it. I would like the commitments as well, not necessarily Starbucks and Chipotle, but a quick serve and a coffee shop, or here's where our parking's going to go, or we're so tight on parking, we're going to meet it, but we need a reduced buffer, and that kind of thing would have been helpful. There's a little bit of time. They can't make a substantial change to the application from what you guys see.
Yeah, I'm just concerned that, the presentation based on this, but it could be that. Mm-hmm. If it's this, okay, but if it's that, what does it change in the decision-making process? And the Board of County Commissioner obviously has the final say on approval or not approval. Just, we're here to filter and ask the hard questions, so
Right.
if they choose to review our findings and what we ask and why we ask them, again, it comes down to them for final approval. So we're just vetting, sort of.
Agreed, as am I right now, yes.
I have some questions. So the revised general concept plan that was provided, that will become an addendum to the conditions of approval?
Yes, the new one that she turned in will, like I said, the major change is the dumpster on that.
Right, right. There is a note on there in the proposed use that does say a quick service restaurant with online pickup window and coffee shop with drive-through. But then there's that general note.
Right,
too,
that supersedes,
says
that
anything
conflicts
else
with it,
will go, and
yes.
I get that.
Yeah.
Can the conditions, if they're agreeable, be clarified that if such use shall change? And I think you do have the general one in there that says that all standards of the Land Development Code would apply except as expressly stated herein.
Right.
Okay, I don't know if it could be clarified that if they do change the use where they have to do another parking study or meet the Land Development Code.
Right, so yeah, so I'm saying that any has to meet LDC. If it is two fast food drive-through uses as on that plan, then here's it. Any other changes, may require a modification. Yeah, it's open.
Just a point here. I mean, why are we doing a PD if they can do anything that's allowed in general commercial? I mean, it seems to me like if they want a PD, they get a PD, and then if they come back with something else, then that they go through the permitting process.
It's a PUD right now, although expired. So yeah, they could remove the PUD and be used general commercial by right. Yeah, that's an option for them.
The ISR though in GNC is 70%, so
Right.
they are asking, and you said that right now it's a dead PUD, so they've lost any entitlements. So they're asking for an increase to 75%.
With this general concept plan before you, but not any specific uses, correct?
Okay. I have one question I forgot to ask the applicant. I'll just ask you. Internal pedestrian circulation, because I know there's sidewalks on the outside, on the rights of ways and everything. That is a requirement of the code. They would have to demonstrate at time of permitting and internal pedestrian, how that ties into the.
It is, and I think they're actually showing it on their plan. That's kind of what I got from what this is right here, these little break. And there's
I see.
And there's kind of a break up there more where the driveway is, but I agree that they have to meet it anyway, but yeah, that's the kind of stuff that the parking lot landscaping, the parking lots, parking
to the
itself would have
code.
been helpful to have seen. Didn't see that, but yeah, they have to meet that. You're not getting relief from that. There's no deviation request.
Okay.
But yeah, they absolutely would have to connect out to 19, and I think that might be what that's doing.
Okay. Yeah, they're decreasing the degree of nonconformity, and I realize now there's existing structures on there, and you have what you have. So, I mean, I like that. And I realize the site, it's not like it's a very small site, but it is constrained because you've got the rights of ways on all four sides. So you have to consider all of that. And let me ask you one more question. This one's been beat to death also. But on the condition regarding on Homosassa Trail, right in, right out with the concrete median, if that doesn't work out, would they be allowed a right in, or are you saying that they would not then at all?
Well, the way the county engineer has proposed it is a raised traffic separator will need to be constructed, period. But it also says above it, unless otherwise approved by the county engineer. So they're leaving that discussion open. They understand that they're not satisfied with that at this moment. So it's a stay tuned, which happens with some traffic things. They are negotiating till permitting and through permitting sometimes. But that would be up to the county engineer as to whether that raised median makes sense. Right now, I've been told absolutely. If they have to access Homosassa Trail, that's all we can do.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Okay. Well,
Is there a way to move forward, but put some guardrails in place in case Starbucks and Chipotle or this changes significantly? Guardrails in place to where they would have to come back either to us or start. I don't want to see them have to start the whole process over, because I do like the idea.
Yep. Yeah, you don't have to approve the all general commercial uses. You can say as limited by the uses specified on the master plan if you want to, which is quick serve and coffee shop, without that general note. That's within your purview to do. I'm not sure how willing the applicant would be doing, because you heard from them. I asked that question a couple times now today, and every time I've heard it from both the applicant and the engineer is we want to keep our options open, but we can ask that again.
So is he allowed to make a rebuttal or?
Not at this time, but he'll have his chance. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so just hang with us for a second.
Yeah, okay.
Forget it, though. You might want to write it down like me. Okay.
I'm kind of telling them, do this, do this, but I can't force that.
Okay. Any further questions? Okay, we'll now open it up to the public portion of the meeting. Sir, did you have anything? No, okay. Second time, third time and final.
He gets a chance.
Okay, we'll close the public portion. We now get an opportunity for rebuttal and closing arguments, and I think, yeah, we have some questions on that general note too, and if you're willing to forego it.
There's not really any rebuttal, but I guess we can have a closing,
Yeah, so in closing, we hear the concerns, we've heard the conversation, and, we are willing to remove that general note number 2. I'll tell you, the entire site concept plan has obviously been designed around these 2 uses. It's notated that those are the 2 uses. It's been designed accordingly. Probably not going to work with any other type uses. So if that's a major concern, we're willing to remove that general note and address that for you. We do hope to have both the landscape plan and a more detailed site plan before the BOCC. But I can tell you that this concept plan, although there is not the striping on it specifically, it is scaled, right? And so, the engineers have been working on it feverishly, and it does really lock us in and the site constraints. The expired PUD that's on the property, yes, it's expired, but certainly I would say that the precedent is there. And one of the reasons, I'm sure, is because we've talked about how constrained this site is. So meeting the ISR and meeting parking requirements and meeting, all of the additional requirements and setbacks, it's difficult, right? Because of how wide the lanes have to be, the drive aisles, the parking spaces, the landscaping islands. It's just a constrained site. And when you're talking about the landscape buffers, taking in more space on that, that's, I'm sure, one of the reasons that it was granted before, and is why that request is in front of you again. Because if we add that 5 feet in, my engineer, I'm sure, can speak to it, but you're going to end up with drive aisles and parking spaces that aren't the required width and dimensions in your code, and then we're looking at different types of variances. So it's balancing those factors in. Of course, a lot of these issues will certainly be addressed in permitting. The loading zone I heard raised again. Originally, we had a note on there about it being off hours, but because staff preferred that just be addressed in permitting, because the uses and the hours and things are not specific as far as whether it's a 24 hours or not. So we didn't want to put on only off hours. The staff didn't, but we're certainly agreeable to a condition if needed. And I believe Troy has a few more items to discuss.
So I think Lauren just addressed the use situation. Also would like to apologize when referencing the previously PUD. If I used the word entitlement, precedent was the word I should have been searching for. On that third specimen tree that is actually located in the right-of-way, I was not trying to claim that falsely. That was something that staff had brought up to us, and we said, hey, that's in the right-of-way, but they listed it in the report. With respect to the racetrack, obviously still some contingents there over this raised concrete median. That's part of the reason why we want to defer it, continue those negations with the county engineer. He's been very helpful on this. I don't pretend to understand the market. That's not my realm, but I know from doing this for a living that when you have a commercial user like this, if they can't get access off the main road, which obviously we can't, we're making a safety upgrade there, they want to be as close as they can as possible. And that market dictates that. You approved a PUD in 2020 that didn't have that, and nothing got built there. So we're asking for some concessions to make this site attractive to market users and obviously get this thing redeveloped, which I think we all would agree, excuse me, is beneficial for the county. The parking, we'll work together. We'll put together a conceptual plan prior to the BOCC, which will detail out all of our striping It's all pretty much right there. What you're seeing hatched is our pavement. You can kind of visualize that around the perimeter. There's going to be parking there. There's going to be parking adjacent to the buildings. We'll make sure that that gets submitted to the BOCC ahead of the quasi-judicial deadline. We can have an arborist look at that tree. I saw a photo of that tree. It did not look terribly healthy to me, but we would be willing to have somebody look at that. And Mrs. Collins, yes, you were correct. That is pedestrian connection to US 19, and there will be internal circulation. We will show that striping on the concept plan that interconnects those buildings. So unless anybody else has any questions.
And just as a quick follow-up, the other major change on the PUD that you have the concept plan was the addition of that concrete median. So although, you know, it's been phrased that we're not agreeable to it, we are, if that's what's necessary, but there are just other concerns dealing with the racetrack and the traffic flow that'll affect FDOT. So that's why we wanted to highlight that.
So with that, I guess we would amend condition number 1. Thank you very much for all of that. The plan unit development shall allow for, and instead of general commercial uses, it would default to the uses they have on their site plan, which is a quick service restaurant with online pickup window and a coffee shop with drive-through. Is that acceptable?
Yes.
Okay, that, I'm just reading it word for word. Okay. And we would say general note 2 would be removed. Perfect, referencing the July 17th instead of June 24th. I also heard for loading zone condition number 13, you would do for off hours only. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Hear that? Okay. And you, yeah, that's wonderful. I appreciate that. I think that's the only changes to the conditions that I heard, but we can put others in there if you'd like. I think they've addressed quite a few of our concerns. And thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now bring we'll close the public portion. We'll bring the discussion back to the board for final discussion. Anybody want to start? Mr.
I'll
Stone?
start. The site is tight, as I'm sure the applicant knows. I don't concur with maintaining a 5-foot buffer. I don't. It's like we said. There is no right of entitlement to what was in a previous application. I don't think we should be in the position of being forced to commit to previous conditions that have now expired. The other thing is, I thought all 3 trees looked great, and I do not concur with removal of the one specimen tree. I'm sure it's more of a trouble for the contractor and the builder to build around it, but I don't see anything that would prohibit him from to doing that. So if those 2 conditions are added to or changed, I guess that would be number 3. Condition would eliminate the 5-foot buffer, and number 5 would specify maintenance of the 3 specimen trees. Then I could support this. Without that, I will not support it. So that's all I have to say.
Mr. Facemeyer.
I concur with my colleague, Commissioner Stone. Other than that, I'm supportive.
Mr. Bozeman.
I'm not going to get terribly hung up on the buffers. I mean, anything they put there is better than what's there now. However, with that being said, if it's a requirement, then you may need to try to figure out how to make it work. I understand the impact on the site. But I don't think I'm going to withhold support because of that alone. You know, and until you get ink on paper commitments from the 2 names that you mentioned, I'm glad to hear that there's going to be a time period where there will become more clarity as to the details, parking spaces, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I feel like I would like to support this. I think that what you're going to do is going to be a big improvement. There needs to be guardrails in place that Joanne brought up. So as long as that's in place, I will support it.
And I also would support it with the conditions.
Mr. Barmas.
Well, it brings us to a question, Joanne, that we got a couple, maybe three, that's concerned with the specimen tree removal. And my mind done slipped me on the other, the 5-foot buffer. If they're not in support of it, is that something that can be renegotiated?
This is not an all or nothing, so we can vote on the conditions individually and amend them if you want to. And of course, between here and the commission will have their own mind as well. But, for example, we can take a poll of how you feel on the buffers and how you feel on, I know I said 3 trees, I'm pointing out that third one, but it's really in the right of way. It's not one that they can even protect, but the 2 trees, and that's up to you. So we can take a poll on those specific conditions if you want to do so. Or, that can be your absolute denial. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but it's not an all or nothing. We can work on each condition.
I think we can take a consensus.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Okay, so for the tree preservation plan, for keeping both trees or keeping 1 tree?
The thing they may run into if they try to keep that tree is, since they have to elevate the property, they're gonna put that tree in a hole in the middle of the project, so.
Yeah, I'm sure the tree would appreciate it, so I don't see any problem with the tree.
The site would need to be engineered, and probably if they're gonna be doing some underground drainage, we've seen it done. I mean, they know we can do it. It just comes at a price.
It's a pain in the neck. It's much easier to tear it down. But I have no idea how old that tree is. I'm sure it would like a few more years.
Do we have an arbitrist on the county that we use?
We do have somebody that we can talk to and have them go review it. Yes.
Okay, so we can.
I've torn down. I mean, I'm a developer, done many things over my life, and if I wanted a tree down, I could get an arbitrist to get that tree down and say it's bad. So I'm not,
Right, we have somebody on the county staff that can
says opposite. So we have one we're fighting over now in Hernando with DOT, as you know. But so I'm not concerned as much as the tree as I am. They're taking a whole property and just gutting it, and starting from a straight. I think they should at least adhere to our buffer requirements. That's my only concern. So my answer to the tree preservation is I'm okay with it.
Can we get a consensus on that? Obviously, Mr. Stone has made his clear, and Mr. Barmas has made his clear. So anyone else have a concern about keeping the tree?
So with the tree being kept, it looks like they would end up losing some more parking.
I don't know if that's parking or a driveway or what, but yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
We don't even know what's going to be there.
Well, we have a commitment now for quick service and coffee shop.
Yes, because I'm more comfortable, because it is a master plan, so there should be a commitment to somewhat of the uses, at least in this case, particularly because there is a parking study and because there is the design of the site.
We can also specify.
So I don't know if we can make that. Definitely, yeah, I would be able to support it with the removal of that general note too. That's the biggie. With that, I don't know if we can then just still recommend that the tree still be. I mean, ideally, if it could be kept, it could be kept. But I have a feeling it's gonna create an issue with the traffic circulation, or it's gonna remove more parking spaces. So then you've got that to go back to again. So they would have to address this maybe before it comes to the Board of County Commissioners. And
so are you trying to support keeping the tree?
I'm trying to support it, but I realize that
I didn't know which way you were
the
going.
way the site has to be elevated, that there's issues that go.
The county commission can decide what they prefer.
And
we want to bring it to their attention.
And the applicant is hearing this, so they will have, I'm sure, their experts look at the tree as well, and we'll have somebody look at it. And by then, but Mr. Facemeyer, do you want to keep the condition in that they can remove the tree or keep it? I'm going to call you all out.
In favor of keeping it.
Keeping it, Ms. Collins?
In keeping it, if
Mr.
it's
Barmas,
feasible.
I think you said no, you weren't concerned about it, right? Okay. Ma'am?
I'm not concerned about
Not
it.
concerned about it. So we've got 2 and 3. Mr. Bozeman?
I'm not terribly concerned about it. The tree doesn't look that good, and when you start messing around, and I, in former life, was a landscape designer and a lot of landscape maintenance, so I'm okay with losing it, because I think part of their plan, they're gonna beautify the site, number one, and the landscaping requirements are gonna probably, I would hope, offset the loss. So I'm okay with losing it.
So they have to mitigate also for removing that tree, don't they have to do additional plantings or additional trees?
Plantings or fee. Yeah,
Fee
there's a fee to
also,
do.
so there is a penalty.
Okay, and I think
so-
I've got a consensus for the buffer that not reducing the 10-foot to the 5-foot. Is that correct? A consensus for the buffer? Mr. Bozeman said he wasn't concerned, but he kind of said he
I'd
was.
like to see the 10 if there's a way to fit it in.
I think we got a
would prefer
consensus
that.
for that, so that would be condition number 3, would change from the 5-foot along the east and south, and instead the 10-foot would be required along northeast, all property lines, but north, south, east, and west will say, because they may subdivide.
All right,
Okay, so we're moving the second sentence in condition 3. All right, any other conditions you want to tackle?
No, but I guess I could finish my, my closing remarks. 'Cause that's good, that's important stuff for me. I do have concerns with the off-site DRAs, you know, where the water's going, that area has prone to flood. I mean, it flooded last week when it rained in a thunderstorm. Trying to get in and out of the racetrack and through that intersection was a nightmare at certain times of the day. So I do have concerns with that I don't feel was addressed, which could be somewhat addressed since they're having a clean slate. We've never discussed anything as far as lighting or any other concerns, which I know that'll all be taken care of during the LDC permitting process. We took care of the loading zones. We haven't had any kind of discussion on the sign locations. One part of the packet, it says they're gonna have building signs on the building. And then in their traffic study, it indicated a marquee, possible sign or marquee, sign that wasn't attached to the building was over here and the sign verbiage was over here. So I forgot to ask that question. About the signage, but I know our LDC covers that.
Right, and in condition number 6, one of the underlined new text, I added signage in there that has to
I
meet
see that.
LDC as well, yes.
So with the conditions, the way they've been amended, I'm real hesitant on trying to approve a conceptual plan that shows nothing but a drawing. I do appreciate that they made a commitment to what is going to be there. They probably wouldn't have came here just for a PUD for anything. So they came because they had a commitment probably from the clients to say that they wanted to put it there. If you can get me there, I'll go there. I think that area needs to be picked up. I think it needs a good cleanup. I just don't want them to, build the property up to where it's going to create more flooding. So I would want technical services to really look deep into the DRA process and the drainage process. What size of draining pipe that we have? Where does it go? How much can it retain? Because it doesn't even retain regular 10 inches of rain we got last week. So that's a big concern, to me. So. And I think that covers everything I have to say. I'd like to give a motion, but I don't know which way to go.
Well, can I have a couple of words? If I, just sitting here thinking, if I had the final say, and as we do not, then we make recommendations. Board of County Commissioners has the final say. And again, it's our role to try to vet this as best we can. I think we've done that. I think we've raised a lot of concerns, a little bit of the vagueness, but I would sure hate to pass an opportunity to see that site improve. So providing they are agreeable to meeting the conditions and working through this and have heard what we've said is some of the things we'd like to see and push forward to the county commission. I would like to support it and push it forward and put the ball in the county commission's court to make the final decision. It's going to be up to you folks to make the case a little stronger to them about some of the things that have been brought up that aren't necessarily as detailed. So I'll be supporting it.
Yeah, so even with adding the 10-foot buffer I guess along Aqueduct, and you had indicated, it's in your report, that this is a canopy and tree-lined scenic road. It'd be nice to see specifically maybe if they do have to remove that tree, to plant some oaks along there to enhance that tree-lined scenic road. I don't know if they would be agreeable to that, but since they have to mitigate the tree to remove it. So I realize we've got the enhancement fund, but it is a canopy-lined road, so I don't know, something to think about anyway, since, you've got a wider buffer now. Hopefully it'll help support a larger tree. Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, for a purpose of a motion. The Planning and Development Commission finds application number PUD 2026-00004 consistent with the Citrus County Comprehensive Plan and the Citrus County Land Development Code, and that this board recommends approval with the conditions and along with all the other amended conditions of the applications to the Board of County Commissioners based upon the evidence and the testimony presented, the staff report, and the conclusions regarding this petition.
And this is not a change to condition number 5 with tree preservation, because that was kind of mixed. But the other changes, the 5-foot buffer and the use on condition 1 and the loading zones.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? No.
Nay.
One nay.
I would just like to add, just for the record, I hope that you guys, when you go to the BOCC, you're a little bit more prepared, because they're going to hammer you on the parking spaces. They're going to hit you on the tree preservations. At least we're hoping that, because those are things that we've hammered out, and continue the negotiations with technical services. The flooding area and that area up there is going to be one of your worst battles.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Mr. Barmes. We have a second by Ms. Murphy. It was an approval, a motion carried 5-1.
And this application is
Conditions.
scheduled for September 8th at 5:05. The quasi-judicial deadline is August 19th, so we got some time, okay? So we can talk later if you want to. As far as your upcoming meetings, so never slows down for you, of course. August 20th, we have 2 applications. One of them is Betts Farm. That is getting a lot of interest in the public. We will have an overflow room ready if needed. We also have a variance for signs on August 20th. On September 3rd, we have 2 applications. One of them is Take 5. They're coming back for a 3rd time for you. They have made significant changes to that, so they can come back before you. They're trying for an approval. They seem to have taken what you said to heart. 9/17, we also have 2 applications, a variance and a PUD for a car dealership. And we're already scheduling out into October, so October 1st also has 2 applications. So not slowing down in any way, I'm sorry. But thank you guys, this was a tough one. And I appreciate all the thought that you gave, and I thought that was very good advice. That's kind of what we've been saying all along, but it was good to hear, Sue. Mr. Landon, did you have anything you want to talk to him about?
Also, I don't have a specific date, but during the holiday season, probably November, we'll have a first draft of the updated comprehensive plan.
Okay.
And perhaps a data center coming soon, too.
Yeah, data center, I think we almost have a draft buttoned up on data centers for LDC, so that'll probably be in the same window.
Good, because I wrote a draft too, so I'm going to compare your draft to my draft.
You wrote a draft, too. Oh, my.
Absolutely.
Oh, my.
Just for the county.
We've received about half a dozen drafts from the public, which is great.
Half a dozen. I probably have 20.
Yeah.
Honestly, they've all done word for word. And
Mine's 39 pages long.
That's about what some of them are. I'm sorry, you got to work harder to get bigger.
Okay, well, I'll go back to the drawing board.
Another
And then the last thing I want to say is August the 18th, if you're listening, is the most important day. You're a voter in this county. You need to go to the polls and vote. The county commissioner races will be determined that day. Don't wait until November and say, oh my gosh, Because we hear this all the time in sound off. Y'all know who I'm talking about. I'm looking right up at you when I say that. You can't complain if you don't vote. Sorry, I had to throw that in for Mo.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other commission comments? I won't be here for the second meeting in August, and I already relayed
So
that to
how's that?
secretary.
Okay.
So, with that, we'll adjourn. 11:23.
Thanks, guys. Very nice. You did a good job.